Hello ladies and gents, I'm the Dapper Rat and welcome to the final part of balancing properties. As a summary, I'm clarifying my ideas to balance heroes by putting them in roles that give them access to properties. These string of videos go over each property, where they belong, and track their strength in order to monitor how often it's used. In this final part, we are going to go over one last property, then balance the overtuned, underpowered, or awkwardly positioned ones. That being said, we have Stun, a property that temporarily dazes your opponent. During this daze, your POV shakes a bit and your guard UI is hidden from you. Stun used to be a monster in its former days but has been nerfed and removed from a lot of the heroes. In ganks, Stun can serve a pretty good amount of use as it forces your opponent to focus on multiple characters' animations instead of just their guards. This makes it slightly harder to defend, but as you get better at the game, the guard UI tends to help less as muscle memory begins to kick in. In a team fight, your use case is about the same, just a little less effective as your opponent can be partially defended by their teammate. Moving to a duel, Stun used to be a powerhouse but now is quite laughable. In the early game, you could see some use as reliance on UI is at its maximum, but in higher ranks of play, the daze status effect does absolutely nothing in a duel. Finally, in an anti-gank, Stun is completely useless. I've tried thinking of a single scenario where having even one of your opponent's daze could be beneficial, but I got nothing. The effect doesn't last long enough to capitalize on, and even then, a dazed opponent could quite easily dodge roll into the safety of their teammates. Overall, this lands Stun in the ganker category, and with that out of the way, we can get into balance. Starting off with bashes, we can see an overall score of 6.75 out of 10. I wouldn't call this grade problematic, so why rebalance it? Well, as I said in my video covering bashes, we have a problem of being able to commit to its placement. Again, I don't really care where it goes, but a change has to be made. Either increase the revenge gain from getting bashed to make it completely unusable as a ganking tool. Then we can place bashes in the duelist category. Or greatly reduce the revenge gain from getting bashed and strictly make it a ganker's property. Not only do I find this change simple but pretty coherent. And of course, gank-based heroes can use their bash in their moveset for duels, but someone like a teamfight based hero wouldn't. Moving on to the most problematic child, we have counters with an overall score of 9.25 out of 10, almost maxing out every category. The changes I'd make to counter are quite simple. I'd remove its ability to counter externals. Just to not completely shit on the property, it will still give you iframes from externals to ensure you won't get hit. However, you will not gain the benefit of stopping the enemy and damaging them. This will castrate counter's ability to be used in a gank, removing a large amount of frustration. This also means that counter will no longer be a better version of all guard, as all guard would still be usable in a gank as is. This change also weakens its might in teamfights without making it completely useless. I believe an external that hits an already started counter should work as is now, although if that's too hard to code, just giving the counter a stacked property of hyper armor will suffice. Next up, we have Deflex with a score of 4.75. My ranking of deflects stirred up the most controversy as a deflect changes based on the assassin. Some deflects are better in an anti-gank, others as a ganking tool, with some being easy to hit that they are demons in a teamfight. My change to the deflect means that all these would have to at least partially change or be accommodated to accordingly. My goal was to improve the viability of a deflect without giving up its unforgiving nature/feeling. And so I recommend that when getting a chain deflect, the strength of the deflect multiplies. The exact numbers would obviously have to be tested, but seeing a change of 2 times for the first change, then reducing for each consecutive chained deflect would boost its lethality in a anti-gank, but leave other aspects untouched. This change would semi-throw balance into chaos, with some heroes already having high damaging deflects and others technically not having a damaging deflect at all. This means that those with higher damage deflects would need their damage reduced, or the better option would be changing their multipliers to be less effective. For example, a deflect that does 18 damage could get a modify that goes by 2 times, then 1.5, 1.25, then 1.1 after that. Whereas a deflect that does 24 can start its modifier at 1.7, then 1.3, then 1.1 after that. The stacking damage will only work if you chain deflect an enemy, so your teammates cannot artificially boost you. As for Berserker, the only assassin without a true deflect, it's as simple as a change in button input. I think the animation is fine, just have it do 18 damage and work as the first heavy of his chain. Following deflects, we have traps. Traps are in a similar position as bashes. First of all, they need to be more reliable no matter the change. Whiffing a trapped attack when a regular attack would have hit makes me violent and lash out at my loved ones. It's infuriating beyond belief, and if it wasn't for the fact that no one plays Nucia, it would have been changed already. That being said, just like a bash, traps either need the revenge transfer heightened or lowered to make it either a duelist or ganker's property. Personally, I would opt with having it heightened because I want as little reason as possible for the devs to not use this absolute monster of a property. God, I love it so much. Finally, we have Stun, a property that, if I remember correctly, has been getting gutted for years. Starting off as essentially a flashbang, it has been reduced down to a minor inconvenience, even for low mid-tier players, and has been removed from almost all characters, of which the pool of characters who had it was already small. I actually quite like Stun, as it adds a level of immersion into the game. Having your head kneed into a wall is definitely something that would at least daze you. At least it used to, until they took it off Raider. My changes would be to either increase the flashbang effect to its former glory. I want white blotches all over my screen every time I get kneed, KO'd, or hit by an attack that honestly should cave in my head. However, I understand that this property was hated for a reason, so my less fun and immersive idea would be to extend the duration. As it stands right now, with how weak being dazed really is, the duration should be way longer. Really, I can't get over how unimpactful this property is. Like, if you were some freak and played without guard UI, I wouldn't be surprised if you thought this property literally didn't exist. That being said, it's all I have for today, and now more than ever, I would like everyone to leave feedback. Let this video become a melting pot of changes you'd like to see in For Honor. Pretty soon I plan on doing a video responding to comments, and so that being said, thank you for watching and farewell, ladies and gents.